Ladies and gentlemen, the big hand is on the 12, the small hand is on the 7, which means it's time for Monday Night Nerd. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you all for watching this in the future. If you don't know me, my name is Myers Corp Creations. I am a cosplayer. I am a nerd. I'm a video gamer. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a music fan. I'm a movie fan. I am a fan of many different things. And I'm so glad you can come in and join me here tonight because we got a lot to talk about tonight. This past weekend, I was at Anime North in Toronto, and it was a freaking blast, but I don't want to spoil the main event yet. We got a lot to talk about beforehand because there was some wrestling stuff going on. There's a couple things going on this week that I want to let you know about, but most importantly, Fan Expo Toronto, which is my big con, I've been going for almost 12 straight years, just debuted some of their autograph prices for celebrities, and boy, do we have something to talk about. But we're going to save that for the end. First off, let's talk about this week coming up. This week, well, usually I do have a movie review or something I've seen recently that I'd like to talk about, but it has again been a busy weekend because I've been at Anime North all weekend. So next weekend, next Monday, we will be talking about Spider-Man because this Thursday, I will be seeing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I've been waiting so long to see this movie. The first Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie is probably, if not the best comic book movie in my opinion. I love it. The animation is amazing. The story is amazing. The characters are amazing. I love that movie. I am trying not to overhype myself for this movie. I'm trying to keep my enjoyment contained because you never know what a sequel could do, but all I've heard so far are great things. I'll be seeing it Thursday night. I'm so excited. I was hoping to be in cosplay for this. I had ordered a Spider-Man suit. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but I was hoping to get it now before the movie was released on the first, but unfortunately, it does not appear that I will get it. I will have to email the person who is making it for me to see where it is because I did order it back in April, so I kind of hope to be in by now. But anyways, I will be there, and I will have probably a quick review on my Instagram, on my stories that night after the movie, but I will go into an in-depth review, non-spoilers, next Monday on Monday Night Nerd. The other thing this week, if you are a PlayStation owner and you have wanted to buy things or you've wanted to become a PlayStation Plus subscriber or you've wanted to buy controllers or anything else, PlayStation Days of Play 2023 starts on the 2nd, which is this Friday. That means if you've ever seen it before, like I said, PlayStation Plus is usually on discount. There's usually a whole bunch of games, physical and digital, that are on sale. Controllers are usually on sale. The console is usually on sale. And sometimes there's even an exclusive bundle that comes out. They have said they're going to be sending out some more information and some, things that'll be coming out during the week to tell you what's going to be coming out on Friday. But it's usually good. There's usually at least one little thing I want to buy. Usually it's a game or a PlayStation Plus upgrade or something. I think last year, I upgraded my PlayStation Plus. So that bill will be coming in probably on the 2nd or the 3rd to give me my second tier PlayStation Plus. But yeah, if you're a PlayStation owner, don't spend your money this week. Wait until Friday, see what comes out, and then pick up something on the weekend. You might get some money off. Now, let's jump into a little bit of wrestling. We had two big pay-per-views this weekend. We had WWE Night of Champions, which was in Saudi Arabia, and we had AEW Double or Nothing. WWE Night of Champions, that if you were a WWE superstar this weekend, you had a rough weekend. So for those who don't know, this was one of the few pay-per-views a year that they do in Saudi Arabia. They took the roster that was going to be on the show and flew them to Saudi Arabia on Thursday to do a big press conference to hype up the show. And it looked really good. From what I've seen from the clips, it looks like it was a great attendance, great crowd. And then they flew everybody back on Friday to the States for SmackDown and then flew them all back to Saudi Arabia on Saturday to do the pay-per-view. Why they didn't just film SmackDown in Saudi Arabia or did the press conference early Saturday, I have no idea. But man, you got your frequent flyer miles if you were a superstar that last weekend. Um, of course, as I've said before, I am a fan of wrestling, but I do not have I do not have the Fight subscription. I do not have the WWE Network anymore. It's just a little too much out of my budget. I keep up with, podcasts and websites. I have seen so many clips on the internet. The bloodline looks like it's over. It looks like Jay and Jimmy will be going off on their own. We'll find out more about that probably in the next few minutes because Raw is on right now. If not, they'll wait until Thursday or Friday for SmackDown. Seth Rollins is the new world champion, which I kind of saw coming. There was a photo leaked earlier this week that Seth Rollins will be appearing in the new Captain America movie for Marvel. That is interesting. I was kind of thinking they may go with AJ Styles to win that belt because he's going to be busy shooting. But on the other hand, having your world champion be in a movie is pretty good press. So I kind of saw that as a good possibility. So good for Seth. He's been a crazy, crazy character for the past year, 2 years with his flamboyant character. So good for him. Glad he won that. Asuka beat Bianca Belair to be the new women's champion, breaks her 400 plus day reign as women's champion. So good for Asuka. She's an amazing, amazing wrestler, and Bianca's an amazing champion. And Bianca is not going to be without a belt for a long time. I think she'll be champion very, very shortly, whether it's going against Rhea or it's getting that belt back. I don't think she's going to be without that for a while. That was the big things that happened on the pay-per-view, if I remember correctly. The Brock and Cody thing, I didn't really see or hear much about it, so I'm guessing it wasn't that important. AEW had a pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. I watched the highlights just before we started the show, and I gotta admit, I yawned a bit, which is sad because, I think AEW had a lot of good intentions and a lot of big praise coming into not only this event, but this, 2023 in general. I think this was the year that a lot of people are thinking they were going to start skyrocketing and pushing a lot of pressure into WWE, but I don't know. There have been some, I'm not going to get into the details of it because this isn't a wrestling episode, about what's going to happen with CM Punk and the new show Collision and yada, yada, yada. I think they've got a lot of issues they got to work out before they get an opportunity to become the competition that they want to be for WWE. Sorry. I think it's a great company. I will be going to see AEW. I guess it will be Collision from what I've seen it wasn't announced until recently, but I guess it is Collision in Cops Coliseum. God, I'm old. First Ontario Center in Hamilton. I'll be going to see that with my buddy Thomas. Shout out to Thomas. And yeah, it should be a good show. I'm not bummed that I'm going to see it. I kind of was expecting more, and from what I saw from the pay-per-view, I think a lot of people thought that. From what I saw with a lot of the clips, it looks like the crowd is pretty dead, which sucks, but what are you going to do? That's AEW for you. Let's jump into one more thing before we get into the big news. Mortal Kombat. I had to pull out of a story to talk about because I forgot to mention the Mortal Kombat trailer last week. Great trailer. I think it's a great trailer. I am a little concerned about restarting the series again. I've been a lifelong Mortal Kombat fan. That is my fighting game of choice. And I want to state that because when we talk about Anime North and what I bought, Mortal Kombat is my jam. That's my fighting game. What I bought says otherwise, but I'm telling you, Mortal Kombat is my story. Great story, great characters. I love it. This will be the third starting of the series. We had the original Mortal Kombat back in the day. We then had a reboot for the PlayStation 3, 4 era with Mortal Kombat 9. And now we're doing it again at 12. That worries me that we're starting from scratch for a third time already. I don't know. I'm interested. I will probably buy the game because I own every Mortal Kombat game, and that includes Special Forces. I own everything. Like I said, I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. I will not be picking this up day one though. I picked up Mortal Kombat 11 on day one 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I gotta admit, I was extremely disappointed in that game. I I did not like the crypt. I did not like the microtransactions. I did not like, the way I know their own uh what's the company? NetherRealm is owned by Warner Brothers, and you can tell that Warner Brothers has their fingers all over that game because there's so much grinding and microtransactions that it rips me out of the game, where I know that there might be a second chapter of the game that I have to buy post launch, or there's characters that are behind paid walls I have to buy DLC and stuff. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. The story was fun, but I still haven't played Aftermath because unless I can find it for $10 or less, I'm not going to buy it because I just wasn't happy about it. So I will buy MK1 when it comes out, but it probably won't be for a while, sadly, because I still love the series. I love the characters. I can probably tell you every single character backstory, but it bugs me. And the one thing that does have me interested, though, is the last few games since Mortal Kombat 10, there's been a celebrity character. Actually, since 9, there's been a celebrity character every now and then. And this was leaked by, I believe, Amazon Italy, I believe it was. That the celebrity characters that will be in Mortal Kombat 1 are Omni-Man from Invincible, Peacemaker from Peacemaker, and Homelander from the Boys. That is interesting. I'm interested to see if Peacemaker is John Cena Peacemaker, or if he is Peacemaker from, just another version of him that isn't John Cena's likeness. Same with Homelander. I don't know if it's going to be, I can't think of the actor's name, or if it's just going to be a interpretation of him. Those are cool because I think they all are very good when it comes to finishers. They could really be good fatalities and could be very good movesets. I got a feeling that Peacemaker is going to work a lot like Deathstroke did in Injustice, where he's going to have his guns and he's going to be kind of a long and mid-range character. So I'm interested. The cameo character is something they announced for this game, and they've said that cameo characters are going to be characters that are not actually playable, but they are characters that can jump in through the match to assist your regular characters. Which, if anybody knows their fighting franchises, that seems very much a Street Fighter, Marvel type thing, where you could pick a sub character to jump in and do an assist every now and then. That I'm kind of odd about. I'm really odd about that they chose Johnny Cage as one of them, which means Johnny is not a playable character. Why? This is, you know what? I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. And sorry for anybody who doesn't like hearing me rant. I really do not understand how we're in 2023 and we had a game called Mortal Kombat Armageddon come out in 2008, I believe, 9. And it had every single character ever created, including new ones, in one game. And now we have a game like Mortal Kombat 1, and we're probably only going to get 15 characters. I understand the technology is bigger and better, and there's more detail and more goes into it. But I'm getting kind of frustrated with these games where we're putting all this extra work into it, yet we're still having half of our roster not be in the game. Like, it's just starting to bug me, where we can't just go Mortal Kombat's here or Street Fighter's here, and it's like half of the people, if not more than half of the characters you've ever seen in the franchise is in the game. Like, I just don't understand how we can't do that now. I don't know. That's just a personal gripe for me. And these cameo characters, I will give them a shot when they come out, but I love Marvel versus Capcom, and that's that assist type feature, but I just in a Mortal Kombat game, it just seems odd. So whatever. I'll let it rest, and we'll see what it's like when the game comes out. All right. I gotta take a drink for this next part because this part is I'm gonna laugh my butt off. So, Fan Expo Canada. For those who are new to the show, I have been going to Fan Expo Canada for the past 12 years straight. Actually, it's probably been more. I've been going since 2009. I've gone every single year except for the pandemic year, which was canceled. I don't even know where to start with this. Fan Expo just released their pricing for some of the guests that are going to be appearing this year. And I'll admit, when I first started going to Fan Expo, I wanted to meet every single person that ever came into the convention that I ever loved. The first year we went, I went mainly with my buddies to meet Bruce Campbell. And we did, and it was amazing. I got a photo op with him, and I got an autograph with him, and it was great. I've also met Elvira. I've met Alice Cooper. I've met Brendan Sorbo because I was a Hercules and Xena fan. I've met many, many celebrities. If I went to Fan Expo now and saw what the prices are for these things, I would throw up. The inflation is getting out of hand. To meet Hayden Christensen, he is there for one day. He is there on the Saturday. Hayden Christensen's autograph is $180. To get him to sign a piece of paper is $180. If you would like him to sign something different, say an 11 by 15 photo, a trading card, a Funko, an action figure, or a large poster, it is $230. If you want something bulky, like a lightsaber or a helmet or any prop, it is $290. If you want a quote on that, and that let me back up. That 180, 230, and 290 are him signing his name only. To get up to an 8-word quote, you're having to pay another $230 on top of that. If you want him to sign a name on it, like Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, it's another $125. So if you're wanting an autograph on a Darth Vader helmet and you're wanting him to write, "May the Force be with you, Darth Vader and Hayden Christensen," you're almost paying $1,000. Let me repeat that. To get a Darth Vader helmet with "May the Force be with you, Darth Vader, Hayden Christensen" on it, you're paying almost $1,000. If you get a photo op with him, you're paying $1,000. That's nuts. And the sad part is he will be sold out. He will have a lineup the size of the bloody building. And maybe I'm just getting old, but I'm sorry. I don't care who it is. I'm a monster wrestling fan. I am a monster Metallica fan. But if you said to me to go meet Metallica or go meet The Rock, and you have to pay almost $1,000 for me to get, a guitar signed by Metallica or by one member of Metallica, or a championship belt signed by The Rock, I'd have to pay $1,000. I don't need the autograph. That is insane. And he's not the only one. If I remember correctly, Chevy Chase is going to be there. He is charging $150 for his autograph, and he will not be personalizing it or putting any extra stuff besides Chevy Chase. Charlie Cox is going to be there. Daredevil from the Marvel Universe and the Netflix universe. He, I believe, is 130, 120 for Charlie Cox. So basically, if you want anybody that starred in anything in the past 5 years, you're paying at least $100 for an autograph now. And I'm sorry. Oh, actually, I got this pulled up. Let me see what Christina Ricci. Some might say to a generation Hollywood royalty with the Addams Family and now Wednesday is only $80, and she's appearing 2 days. Yet the mouse is going to be charging you almost $1,000 to meet Darth Vader. For anybody out there who back in the day thought that Disney was losing money buying Star Wars, they ain't losing anything. They are making bank on that franchise, and they're going to make a bunch more at Fan Expo. Again, I wouldn't pay that. There's no fandom that's worth that price. I'm sorry. Like, that's a mortgage payment. And that's not an exaggeration. That's a mortgage payment to meet him and to get an autograph. I don't know. That price just keeps going up. Anyways, whatever. That shocked me. And I mean, I'm a big fan of, like I said, wrestling, and meeting like Ric Flair, and I believe Ric Flair is about 120. But he's going to have some interaction with you. He'll probably going to sign, 14-time or 16-time world heavyweight champion. Just it makes me want to puke. Anyways, sorry. It's so funny. Every year they go up, and that's insane. Sponsors for tonight. And then we would get into talking about Anime North and the amazing weekend I had. Sponsors for tonight, as always, my sponsor, my beautiful, lovely, talented, amazing wife. If it wasn't for her, as I say every week, I would not be here doing this. I would not have the cojones to do these things, or to, be acting like an idiot and doing things like cosplay and going to conventions and such. She's the one who pushes me to be a better cosplayer, a better person, and a better podcaster. I guess you'd call it that. So thank you, hun. I love you. I wouldn't be doing this without you. Speaking of my wife, let's talk about Anime North. So I am not a big anime fan. I was never a big anime fan. I grew up watching Sailor Moon because it was on at lunch when I came home. Pokemon. I never got into Dragon Ball. I didn't really get into Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any of those shows. I know anime from video games like Street Fighter and Tekken had animes that came out. I watched those. But yeah, overall, I'm not a big anime fan. Nothing against it. It just wasn't my wheelhouse. I was too into everything else to bring that fandom into me. But when my nose is super itchy tonight. Anyways. So I was never a big anime fan, but when I met my wife, she is an anime fan. She's watched anime her whole life. She reads manga. She's that fan. And her friends get together once a year, and they all help volunteer at Anime North. And they take care of the audio video in the North building. Well, not the main building, the secondary building, where they have many of the performances. Like they have an American Idol, which they call AN Idol. They have a show like that there. They have some improv shows. They have the Masquerade, and they do the audio video for all of them. Well, I had been hearing over the past, first 4 or 5 years when I met my wife about how great this convention is and how cool it is and how it's a big thing for cosplay. And I was starting to get into cosplay at the time. And she said, well, you should come and volunteer. We'll make sure that you don't have a ton of work. We'll give you a good amount, but you'll have free time to go explore and take it in and blah, blah, blah. So I said, cool. So that was in 2018. That was my first time there. And it was pretty fun. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. Like I said, I really didn't have a lot of backstory to, into the anime world. I knew, like I said, Pokemon, Sailor Moon, and stuff like that, but I didn't know like Gundam and One Punch Man and stuff like that. I still don't really know them that well, but I know of them through conventions and seeing them in pop culture. So every year for the past 4 years, this is my fourth year, fifth year, either way, I've been going and I've been volunteering and enjoying the convention. And this was, as with many, a great year. We'll start with the Friday. So we got there Friday. The con does start earlier in the day. Not too early, but I believe the afternoon. My wife and I worked that day, so we did not get to leave Hamilton till about 5 o'clock. So we got there a little later in the day. So it was somewhat of a late start. We always miss the opening ceremonies because we never take the day off because we have so many other things we need to take time off. We don't take it off for that. But we got there and we jumped in, and it was pretty good from the first day. I went for a nice walk around the convention. I really didn't have anything until later that night. The first walk around was really cool. There was a bunch of good cosplayers. Trying to think if anything jumped out at me that night. Cosplay wise, I don't think there was anything that really jumped out. It was a good night, solid night when it came to people just enjoying themselves. The Friday night is usually it's a lighter night compared to the Saturday night, but it's still a fun night. For those who don't know, it's at the Toronto Convention Center in Mississauga, near the Mississauga, Toronto, near the Toronto Airport, the YYZ. There's a main building that houses most of the convention. There is, like I said, a side building that has the performance area. There is an outdoor stage which has performers, and later on in the evening has a rave going on. And then there's a couple surrounding hotels that people are staying in, but also they have little mini events going on in those conference halls at the hotels. So it's a lot of open outdoor, indoor type of experience. You can seriously just go and stay outside and not even buy a ticket and just walk around the grounds and have a blast. But yeah, it was great. The first night we walked through the main crafter corner and artist alley area. They've always got some amazing art done up. A lot of these creators do fantastic pieces. Lots of places with keychains, lots of places with pins and buttons. And then there's a vendor area, and the vendor area is pretty cool. Again, I'm not a giant anime fan, as I've stated many times so far. So when it comes to the quality of the merch, I'm not 100% on. I can't really tell what is a knockoff and what's legit. I did have a buddy of mine, Tom. He came with his son for the first time, and his son picked up a plushie that he's been wanting forever. And they said they paid premium, but it did have a tag on it that said it is an official piece. So it wasn't knockoff. That booth was not a knockoff. There isn't a lot of merch that I usually buy at the convention. Usually there is a cosplay booth there that does sell cosplay supplies. Unfortunately, they were not there this year. I was a little upset by that because I was kind of hoping to pick up some foam and a couple other things, but c'est la vie. I'll have to buy it somewhere else. But there is one booth that I always look at and I always try and hit first at the beginning of the weekend and at the end of the weekend. And this is a big tip for anybody who's never been to a convention. If you're wanting to buy something and it's important to you that you walk out of the convention with it, go look for it on the first day. If you're there all weekend, if it's this event was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Fan Expo's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go buy it the first day. Don't wait. If it is one, if you're 3, 2, 1. If you have money that you want to spend, but you don't have anything specific that you're looking for, wait until the Sunday, because usually when it comes to the Sunday, a lot of the vendors don't want to waste tons of time packing up all the merch that they brought. So you can usually find deals. Now, this big booth that I usually go to is one that sells a lot of manga and a lot of art books for video games, movies, etc. And last year they had a very good deal, which was 4 big books. Big books. See how cameras work? 4 big books for $40. And I picked up the book I showed you guys last week. If you tuned in, Samurai Pizza Cats, the art from that, because I did watch that show growing up. The art from the Darksider 1 game, which I loved that game. The complete history of Mega Man as a gamer. I appreciate that. And Street Fighter Beyond the World, talking about all of the history of the Street Fighter games. So that was quite a deal, and I was very happy to walk out with that. So when I went back this time, I wanted to at least go to that booth the first night to make sure they had books, because if they did, I wanted to think about, do I buy them now or do I wait, depending on their stock. When I got there, they had those same books as well as some other books. And I sat there and I went, well, I can't really tell how good the stock is, so I'm going to pick them up now. However, the deal was not 4 for $40, it was 3 for $40. Still, 3 books of that size for $40, not a bad deal. So, what I picked up, and again, I want to remind you, I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. I picked up Capcom Fighting book, which talks about the history of all of the Capcom fighting games. So Street Fighter, Darksiders, Fatal Fury, I believe, a bunch of other ones. The Art of Darksiders 2, which I just finished this year, so probably going to pick up 3 next year. And Street Fighter Classic, which is a compilation of a manga series of Street Fighter in a big book. So I was very happy with that. Spoilers for later on, I went back on the Friday and they had the 4 books for $40 deal again. So I could have waited, and those 3 books were there. So I learned my lesson, and I'm now going to wait until the Sunday to buy those books, because it looks like that deal is always going to be in place. So I gambled, and it was a loss, but it wasn't the end of the world. It was still a great deal. So did a walk, picked up my books. I was happy with that. And then I had to make my way back to the North Building, where I worked my first event of the weekend, and that was Anime Hell. If you've never been to Anime North, Anime Hell is interesting to say the least. It is, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he basically takes an hour and a half to 2, I think it's an hour and a half. Anyways, over an hour. And he gets on a laptop and he has put together an hour-long video of clips and commercials and weird things he's found on the internet all about anime. And I don't know anything about anime, like deep dive anime. I know almost nothing. But this guy is entertaining, even for somebody who doesn't like anime. He always shows these weird Japanese commercials, which are friggin' funny. There was this one. He brought in a couple other things though, which made it even funnier. There is a guy, I need to find his YouTube, and when I do, I will throw it on my social media because it was hilarious. He cut Army of Darkness and Lord of the Rings and made a trailer out of it, where it was Ash versus Lord of the Rings. That was hilarious. He did Pulp Fiction and the Muppets, I believe, which was funny as well. Oh, my nose is so itchy. That was funny too. It was a great hour. And it's later at night, so if it's a bad one. I think my first one I didn't really enjoy as much because didn't really get any of it, so it was kind of boring. But this year was pretty funny. I really did enjoy it, and that was kind of it. After that, we all kind of went back to the hotel and kicked back for a little while. We just chit chatted for a while, and then we went to bed. I went to bed early. I fully admit I have gotten to that age where that whole partying late thing is kind of not something I really want to do because I like sleep. I like rest. I like waking up early, which if you knew me back when I was a teenager, you'd be laughing at me because I always was staying up late. I love staying up till 2, 3 in the morning. I just can't do it now. I feel so much better getting a good night's sleep. So I was in bed very early and it was a nice night. Woke up early the next day, jumped out of bed, got ready, um, threw on my new cosplay. If you didn't check out my social media this week, I have a new cosplay. And again, I want to point out I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. I made a Dan from Street Fighter cosplay. Someone in the area was getting rid of a gi for $10 that just fit. And I jumped on it. I said, sure, I'll give you $10. I picked up some pink dye. I dyed the gi. They gave me a belt too. So I dyed the belt, chopped it up to make it look as close to Dan, bought a wig, and I already had fight gloves from my mom, and I purchased a big punching bag thing for the basement. And so I've had those for years. And I was Dan for the weekend, and you know what? It was such a comfortable costume. It was warm out, and I was in a gi with a shirt underneath, and I was actually really nice. It wasn't too hot. It was beautiful, actually. So we were walking around that day, and everyone else who was in giant costumes was sweating like crazy. Um, I had Ghost Rider lined up for the masquerade that evening, and I didn't want to wear that all day, even though I know people would want to get photos. I knew I was going to overheat way too much. And again, I'm getting to that age where that whole pushing yourself is just like, I don't want to do it anymore. I've done so many times where I've just pushed myself into feeling like crap because I'm overheating, and I run warm regularly. So that was not something I wanted to do. So I saved Ghost Rider for the evening once we hopped into the masquerade. Um, but yeah, just a lot more looking around. I never really go to the panels at Anime North because, again, I'm not a big anime fan. I know a couple friends of mine and fellow cosplayers, Bite Props. I believe that's her Instagram. I apologize if it isn't. I got to remember these things. I got to remember everybody's bloody social media handles. Bite Props, one of the cosplayers I know, she had a 3D printing uh, meetup seminar, whatever you want to call it, and I wanted to hit that, but it totally slipped my mind. But yeah, from what I've heard, the panels were great. I didn't hear any complaining about that on social media. Parking was interesting. Saturday, if you are going to show up to this convention, you need to make sure to be there early or show up late because parking when we needed to move a car was a pain in the butt. So Anime North is volunteer run, but where it is, Toronto Convention Center has their own security. And working several different conventions, the building security is usually a pain in the butt. And that is because they have strict rules that they never want to break. And there are rules that just need to be bent sometimes because that's what needs to happen at the moment. And there's usually a clash, and it usually happens with somehow I get involved. I don't know why, but sometimes I just get in the middle of it and it becomes a pain in the butt. We had some things to drop off, and the security there was just being a pain in the butt, and I just was not in the mood to deal with it. It worked itself out, but I just was not feeling it that day. So if you're ever going, park early, don't move because you will not find a spot after that. The masquerade. The masquerade was interesting. So I have a cosplay that if you are a cosplayer and you watch this, hello, how are you? If you're a cosplayer, you know that you are usually working on several different costumes at the same time. And I have one that I'm working on currently. And by working on currently, meaning I bought the pattern and half cut it out and haven't done anything else with it. It is a sewing pattern. I do not sew. And I don't mean I will never sew. I mean, I don't sew right now. That was supposed to be my costume this year, but due to many different things, I just put it on the back burner and I'm kind of kicking myself that I did because I didn't really have anything ready to go. I did have Ghost Rider though. With Ghost Rider though, the only thing that's really built by me is the head. The jacket, pants, shirt, chain, gloves, everything else is all purchased. And if you've never done a masquerade before, the masquerade, they'd like you to have most of your costume built. At least 80% is usually the number. I did not. I pretty much went up there just to perform. And I'm glad I went up, but I will admit I wasn't extremely enthusiastic about it because I knew I wasn't going to win an award. And spoilers, I didn't win an award, which I completely understand why I didn't because there were some amazing cosplayers there. But it was still fun. You know, I like going up there. I like doing the performance. This is my 6th or 7th performance of any cosplay that I've done. In the future, I am going to do a masquerade performance episode of the show where I'll talk about what it's like to go up there. You know, what are some things that I've learned? What are some things that I've done wrong? And I learned something this week too. I definitely learned something this week, and I'll say it now and I'll say it again when we get to that show. I did not have a skit ready. Usually at especially in Anime North, Fan Expo used to do this, but they don't do it anymore. And that was you could give them a minute of audio, and when you walk out on stage in your costume, they will play the audio, and you can act out something or dance to a song or whatever it is. Usually I am a stickler for making sure that I have memorized my song. It has a story. No matter if it's a good story or bad story, I have a story. I have, something. And I put this together the Friday morning. And I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't thrilled. It was all I could come up with. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I feel like it showed. It feel like it showed in the audio. It feels like it showed in my performance. I don't feel like I did enough. And yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting to win an award, and I didn't. The other people who worked their butts off on their costumes, they won the awards, and I am perfectly happy with them winning it because they deserved it. There was some amazing costumes this year. After the masquerade, we kind of packed up and walked back to our hotel. I stayed in Ghost Rider and walked and got a couple photos with people, got some cool comments. Funny thing happened. There is a there's a Instagram or TikTok video out there that says, "Tell me a cosplay that you wore and who someone thought you were that was wrong." And I always joked, I never had anybody that confused my characters. Like I was Luigi or, the people that took photos knew who I was. And I finally happened. I was in Ghost Rider and a guy in a Boba Fett came running up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Twisted Metal." And I went, "Ghost Rider." And he went, "Oh, okay." I walked away. And I'm like, I don't think he has a clue who I am, which is fine. It's an anime convention. I mean, I'm in a Marvel character. I completely understand that. But yeah, it was a fun masquerade. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I wasn't pleased with my performance and my cosplay, but that's okay. You know, there are going to be good years and there's going to be bad years. Sunday was interesting. So Sunday we arrived in the North Building and we had no power. We had no power. From what I heard, gathered, was told, was something happened to the grid and we were running off backup power, which meant we could not do anything with the lights besides turn half of them on. We didn't have any video. We barely had any microphones. And we didn't have any air conditioning, which, if you all were there on Sunday or were out in the general public on Sunday, you know it was a warm day. So it was kind of sticky in that building a little bit. But yeah, I wore my Dan cosplay again because it was comfy and warm. We did a final walk around of the building with the vendors, and I bought manga. I don't own any manga, but I bought some manga. And the manga I bought was all Street Fighter because they had a deal where it was 4 books about yay size for $10. So I picked up 8 different books. There was 5 different series of Street Fighter. Super Street Fighter, Street Fighter Classic, Street Fighter versus Darksiders, Street Fighter 5, and Street Fighter Unlimited. And I picked up all the number 1s and a couple number 2s. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to jump into that tonight and start reading it because I'm interested on how they read. So I picked up 8 more books. So I ended up leaving with 11 books and I spent $60. So I think that's a good deal. And yeah, we went back to the North Building because we were technically signed up for audio video stuff that day. I was signed up to do the Masquerade Awards. We couldn't really do anything for it for audio visual wise. So I just kind of sat back and watched. And yeah, there was some amazing cosplayers and they all deserve, like I said, they all deserve the awards and I didn't, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly happy. I'm glad I participated. It's another performance. It's another time to get my name out there. So it happens. It's not the end of the world. And, yeah, after that, there was, like I mentioned, the AN Idol where people came up and sang anime songs and it was really cool. We had another power glitch and the microphone went out mid performance, which I felt so bad for that individual, but tech happens. We couldn't do much about it. But it was good. And then we went home. There was not much else to do there because yeah, we couldn't do much. So overall, it was a good con. I had a blast. From what it looks like, from what I heard and I've seen online, it looks like everybody had a good time. And I don't think there was many issues, which is always a good thing to hear at the end of a convention, is that there isn't any issues. There isn't any fights. There isn't any problems with lines and stuff. It looks like everybody had a blast. So good for them. Good for Anime North. I can't wait to go back next year. I will hopefully, knock on wood, have that costume ready to go for next year. I'm probably going to make that a priority to have that ready for next year. But yeah, if you've never been to Anime North, pick up a day pass. Even if you're not an anime fan, go check it out. Go see what all the hype is about because there are a ton of cool things to see there. Even if you're on the fringe, like you've only watched Pokemon or something like that, it's just a cool con to go to. So I would recommend it to anybody. Make this one of your cons of the year to go to, especially if you're a cosplayer. You'll see a lot of good cosplays. And that's about it for tonight. It's kind of that's kind of it. Kind of crazy. 50 minutes, it's already up. Wow. We're going to jump into 3 questions and then we're going to let you guys get out of here. Thank you all for joining tonight. I did have some ideas coming up. I know in the next month or 2, let me pull up my I don't have them here. I know in the next month or two, I'm going to do a cosplay month where each week I'm going to talk about a specific topic of cosplay. I'm going to talk about how I got into cosplay and different ways you can get into cosplay. There's going to be one where, again, I'm going to be talking about the performance of cosplay and going up for a masquerade. I'm going to be talking about photo shoots. I'm going to be talking about storage and a couple other things. So stay tuned for that. I know I'm going to be talking a little bit more in the next couple weeks about some celebrity stories because I have a few of those that we have not talked about then, including meeting Ron Perlman, which was crazy to think about. It's got a good story to it. But yeah, let's jump into 3 questions and I'll get you guys out of here. What is my favorite anime that I have seen? Now, that is very hard to pick because there isn't really one that has stood out to me that has made me a fan because I'm not a big fan. Pokemon is the one that I have to go with probably because it's the one I've seen the most of. I've seen a couple of the movies, seen the show, have the video games. When it comes to movies, I enjoyed Street Fighter 2, the anime. That was the animated version. I enjoyed that a lot growing up because I knew the backstory of the fighters because I grew up with the game. I kind of the one anime that I'm kind of into a little bit to the point where I have a figure of it on my desk at work is Agrizuko. I've seen enough of that to find that hilarious that there is this little fox that works in an office building with other animals, and when she gets upset and frustrated with her job, she goes to a karaoke bar and screams death metal, which I just think is hilarious because I could see myself doing the exact same thing in her position. So yeah, Agrizuko would be another one that I'm a fan of, and that's a current series that's not from my childhood. Favorite cosplay from the weekend. Favorite cosplay from the weekend has to be the Rune Guardian. And if you were at the convention, you know he won best overall. It was a giant costume. Looks like it was made out of foam, and he was on stilts, and he didn't really have arms. He just kind of had these tentacle things. But yeah, any of those that are just like they're huge. I just kept. I asked everybody. I'm like, where would you store this thing after you've used it? Like, it's huge. And one of the other cosplayers I met there didn't have a similar build, but had a big prop with him. And I said, "Where do you keep this after?" And he said he bribes his father-in-law to let him keep it in his garage. And I said, "Yeah, I got to start bribing more people with garages because I want to build some big stuff like that, but I have this in one more room and a garage that I have to put stuff into totes because it's not a sealed garage." But yeah, I can't build anything that big. Like that armor is kind of pushing my limit of how big I can build because yeah, I just don't have the space for it to put it in a tote and throw it somewhere. So yeah, the Rune Guardian was pretty cool. I was pretty pleased to see that. And best memory of Anime North. Interesting. Honestly, the first one. The first one, I had heard things about after parties and stuff that goes on after the convention is over. And you hear that stuff. And I've been to enough conventions where it's like, yeah, we party after. And then it's like, do you though? Do you really party after? And that first night, walking through the crowd after the convention's over, it's probably 12:30 at night, and the rave is still going on. And you know they're not even close to finishing up, and it's gonna go till 2-3 in the morning. And it's kind of like, this is kind of cool. It's a little grimy. It's not grimy, but it's the one thing with Fan Expo is it feels very sanitized. And that's great. We need conventions like that. But Anime North, there's a little bit of grime to it. And I kind of like it because it feels authentic. And I kind of like that part of it. And just walking through and seeing the rave, and like I said, you can go to Anime North and not have to buy a ticket and just interact with everybody on the outskirt, on the board, not the border, but like the grounds of the convention center. That's all you need. And some people do that, and I think that's pretty cool. You don't have to, buy a ticket if you don't want to. So that first year going for that walk is pretty much probably my best experience. So it was a great Anime North. I will be there again next year. And yeah, that is the end of the episode. We are at the 7:55 mark. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys had a blast. Next week, we will be definitely talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We'll be talking. What is the topic for next week? I had some ideas, and I don't think I have them in front of me. You know what we're gonna do next week? We're gonna talk about horror. We're going to talk about horror movies. I have not done an episode about horror movies. I have, with a name like Michael Myers, I have seen many horror movies, and I have some very strong opinions on the current state of horror, what worked in the past, what didn't work in the past, what I think's fun, what I think's kind of crummy. We're going to talk about horror next week. I've been holding on to that episode. We're going to do it next week, June 7th, 6th, 5th, around that time. Next Monday, we're going to talk about horror, and we're going to talk about Into the Spider-Verse. But for this week, I hope you guys have a great week. I will see you all soon. Be safe, be secure, and I'll see you soon. See you guys.